So my brother moves to another city with a girl, and he's heartbroken already. Like I say, he's a very sensitive guy. He's a stand-up comedian, so what does that say, right? People pleaser. We didn't get it at home, and I gave it to him by laughing at his jokes all through, our childhood. He became a comedian. Did very well. He was an MC most of the most of the time. I mean, he was an MC for at the biggest comedy club weekend after weekend for years, and he's a funny guy. I mean, he's one of those louder than life kind of characters. Much bigger guy than I was, and he was a great funny guy. I mean, a lot of the jokes were about our parents, but they weren't really biting enough in retrospect. I mean, I can write some bits about my parents now that I understand their sickness, their personality disorder is just crazily extreme. Um, in this new city, he realizes life is tough. It's not a small city. We're a few million. We moved to a place where there's 15, 20 million, and he had a lot more competition. He had to get a day job to supplement his income because they didn't pay you there. Him and his girlfriend are working at a job. You know, he's finding it tough, but he's getting along and he's enjoying himself. And then he calls me one day, and the poor guy, a few years after being discarded by his mother, he sees his girlfriend. They were on a breakup, as it tends to happen in relationships. A few breakups. He's on one of them that he maybe thinks they're going to get back together. He's outside on his balcony, and he sees his girlfriend with a girl that he introduced to her by getting his girlfriend to work at the company he was working. And they're holding hands and they're making out, the two girls. My brother introduced them. They're making out. He's not getting back together with her ever again. Plus, he's lost them both as friends because he had one as a friend. And if a girlfriend, if you don't see her cheating, you can still kind of be her friend. He lost them both overnight. Like at that moment, he called me and he was like devastated. He couldn't talk, and from that point on, he couldn't go back to work either because that's where they met each other. And he just, yeah, it wasn't his city. He just was. We all know what it's like. He was traumatized essentially, and he calls my parents after a few months, I guess, or a few weeks, and he tries to tell them what happened, and no empathy, nothing. He needs some money. It's an expensive city. Now he has all the rent under his name, and it's a lot, and he's stuck. What do they do? And these are parents who inherited millions of dollars in the 70s. Not millions, but a couple. Maybe we'll say 2 million. And maybe we'll say the 80s, but whatever. They weren't running on money that they earned. And my father had a business, and they could have helped my brother. Easily, they could have sent him a couple of grand. No. My sick mother, she's not a mother. She gives it to my father. You take care of him. Yeah, because what does she have to do? She doesn't even work. She never worked a day job in her life, my mother. Maybe when she was 18, maybe a couple of months here, she helped someone in the family, but she never had a tough job years in, years out the way I did, or that my brother did, or all of you have. So she doesn't know what to do. She gives it to my father, who's also never had a job. He inherited money. His family was really wealthy, treated him, spoiled him, at least financially. I don't think they spoiled him with attention, or else he wouldn't be a psychopath. So, he didn't get everything. He had two older sisters, and I believe the mother probably let the two older sisters take care of him when he was younger, like as a baby. And because of that, what are two older sisters who are 6 years old and 8 years old gonna bond with you? It's not gonna happen. I think that's the result. That's why he is the way he is. No empathy because he didn't have a mother who cared. He had some little sisters who were probably treating him like a toy, which is not very empathetic, because that's the way he treated me, like a toy, like I was nothing my whole life to this very moment. It's a game. It's a game where he gets me. Gotcha. I mean, child, immaturity, never grew up, never tried to grow up. All through work, he was always playing hockey and racquetball. He'd come home at 3 in the afternoon to go play racquetball. Like, he didn't really work. He never really made any money as far as I'm concerned, but played like he was, the cat's meow. He sends my brother in this low condition. He says, I'm going to set you up in business. You'll go see my friend in St. Louis. He'll get you going in the seafood industry, and you'll make some easy money. You'll have it. You have a good life. You won't have to worry about all the women and stuff, and everything will be easy for you. My brother, of course, like you all, probably many times, and like myself, way too many times, we think our parents mean well. We think our parents understand and that they're going to want something for us that we're going to want, and they wouldn't screw us over, Anyways, my brother buys, under my father's directions, he buys a freezer for his apartment that's going to hold seafood samples. The freezer is half the size of the apartment. He's in a big city now where his rent's like over $1,000 for a little bachelor of 300, 400 square feet. The goddamn thing takes up a huge chunk of the apartment. But he does it, listens to my father. He always trusted my parents, right? Golden child. Okay, even the black sheep, I trusted my parents more or less when it comes to this thing, because you just assume, hey, my father's the businessman. He seems to be the millionaire, whatever, the mirage or illusion they played. The script, the play. He sends him to St. Louis in a suit. He says, buy a suit, get it pressed. By the way, by this time my parents are in Florida. I should have told you. My parents screwed off before either of us were married. At some point, whatever, I guess they wanted to prove to the neighbors that they were the first ones to retire. That's what I think it was all about. They vamoosed. They sold my car. I had a car. I had a little accident. They sold it. They told, we sold your car. We needed the money to get to Florida. They sold my brother's stamp collection that he had collected for years. Sold it at face value. So a 5-cent stamp that may have been worth, $500, they sold it for 5 cents. My brother never he never forgave them for that either. He never forgave them for any of these things. But each of these things is hurting the poor guy, because unlike me, who has a sense of humor about it, knowing that I'm the black sheep and they've always been treating me worse than I deserve, he's only getting this as an adult, after no longer being a doctor and then being discarded. So depressed, girlfriend's a lesbian, needs money, parents don't want to give him. My dad says, buy a freezer with whatever money you have. I'll send you to St. Louis. You'll make some easy money. My brother does everything. He tells me later on as it comes out, he went to St. Louis in a suit, boiling hot sun, taking a cab into we don't even live in the United States. So he gets there and meets the guy, and the guy says, oh, yeah, you're my friend's son there over in Canada, eh? He goes, you have a seat over there. I'll figure out what to do with you. My brother gave up his entire life. He was a comedian. My parents just had to give him some money, and he would just keep going. He would have rebuilt himself, just like I would. I wouldn't be in here if my parents just would have said, "Here's it, just make sure you don't." But they like to see us suffer. And his friend has no business for him. My dad is a psychopath. He probably called his friend and said, hey, if I send my son over, can you do something for him? He goes, well, okay, I'll send him. He didn't expect that my brother would be expecting a whole career out of this, that he would be... There was no discussion. My brother stayed, I think, one day, turned around, came back, called me. That was another smash to his heart. He was like, wow, what an asshole our father is. What a lowlife. He sends me all the way there, and the guy has... And we should have realized, well, if my dad was such a great businessman, he just would have said to my brother, come on over, and come to me, and we'll make some money. But he had to say, because he has nothing. My dad's a joke. It's an illusion. He's a psychopath. He's gone on about 150 business trips by himself without anyone. Always to meet guys younger than me most of the time. Oh, I met him on the internet. He sells fish. He's got a connection with... I don't know if my dad finds these guys as lovers or he gets conned. But it seems like every time he goes, he gets conned. He meets people, instead of trusting his own son, just like my mother, instead of trusting us for what we do, they trust strangers. And they've lost everything. And I think that's why they're angry, because they probably don't want to realize that they never... My brother wouldn't be gone. What happened finally is that my brother is bitter at this point. But he gets back into comedy. Everything's fine. He's doing comedy again. He's angry though. At this point, he's got major symptoms that are explosive, much worse than before. He's really had it. I mean, he's realizing now that he can't mess up. That if anything happens, his parents aren't even going to send him $500 for $1,000. It's like me. We get it if we really need it, and it's crying, but it's not like it's not our parents. They have they brought us up, saying they have tons of money. They live like kings. I mean, they must blow $8,000, $10,000 a month on themselves. Look, I don't know. Some people will say I'm spoiled, but when your son is in another city, my brother, and he's crying because he found his girlfriend's a lesbian and he can't work the next day because his lesbian girlfriend and her lesbian lover work there, and my parents sent him to somewhere in St. Louis to go all upheaval of his life for nothing. I'm sorry. When they could have just said, here's $1,000, pay your rent. Not parents at all. Sick individuals. The mother passed it to the father's a psychopath. He throws it to the world. They've done that to me a million times. That's why I'm in this hotel room. They throw it to the world. I have social services just in case. I saw it today. I said, look, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I think I got it under control, but I have no parents. So, I have a couple of friends, but they have families, and I just need to know someone's there just in case, I end up on the street and I don't want to get stabbed in the middle of the night. At least not in the heart. So here's where it ends really tragically. My brother is going through this time. I get into some trouble in that city. They convinced me to move to that city. I never wanted to go. I had a great business for 10 years on the internet. Really making a lot of money at the beginning of the internet. I mean, I was loaded for a kid. I was spending it a lot, but having a great time in my 20s. I mean, it was the rave scene, and I was like internet businessman, but I didn't have to do much because back then there wasn't a lot of competition. So I had some passive income coming in, a few $1,000s a week. Great time. I had some trouble because, of course, the law will always find something you're doing that's not totally kosher. My father sends a corporate lawyer, what ended up being a criminal case, and he told him, one appearance for my son. I don't want it to go over $1,000 or something. That lawyer told me at that appearance, I'm sorry. He says, I should not be here. I should not have accepted your father's, demands, but I know him since I'm this high. He goes, I'm just going to tell you something. Stay away from your father. He told me, this is his best friend from way. He says, do not trust your father. He didn't want to say it, but I guess he said he's just no good. He doesn't take things seriously, I think is what he said. He's just to watch myself. I should have listened to him much closer. I always did. I never forgot that, obviously, so now I'm in Toronto. I get in trouble again there, something else with, the law. Like, on the internet, there's always something that'll get you. Like in any business. If you're in the bar business, I've been in the bar business, they get you too, Someone's under 18, and there's a fight, and now someone's, dead in your bar, and that's what happens when you have parents. Like mine, you kind of always end up in the businesses that are a little bit shady, where anyone with a real parent would say, look, let me just help you out and get out of that. And as a matter of fact, I wanted out of these businesses. I told my parents that certain things were like, the law was coming or things were changing, and they never cared, right? So they never helped me, and I just figured, okay, whatever. And I got in trouble, but I'm alive. And my brother's not. What happened is I get in trouble. I'm on his couch under house arrest for about 6-7 months. And during that time, him and I are now in our 30s. We've already absorbed the fact that our parents are crazy, but my brother's still pretty narcissist. When I was with him, like, yo, you're a comedian. You're putting me down. I've held senior programming positions for years. You've never held a job for more than a year maybe. You go ahead and respect it. What do you? And we had some physical fights at that age. It never got out of hand, of course, because we're brothers and we don't really want to hurt each other. But we had some physical fights. We destroyed his apartment a couple of times. And at the end, you know what? My brother came out much less narcissistic. I kind of brought him down to reality, saying, look, you make fun of other people, you put them down, but you can't. You don't have the facts. Don't fit it. Guess what? Within 2-3 years, he met a great woman, and he got married. And I think it was because he was a little bit nicer, right? A narcissist is hard to, it's hard to marry, but someone who's more like I am, which is a bit of a borderline, is, it's a much different story. you can act narcissistic, but then if you pull back and you say, all right, I was just out of control, well, it's not really being a narcissist. It's not a narcissist, right? It's not a disorder. Because what you've done is like, that was stupid, you know what I mean? I was just acting like an asshole. My poor brother, all this time, it's on his shoulders to have kids, right? Oh, I went over 15 minutes. I'm going to have to try pushing this. I'll verify my account, whatever. It's him to have kids, because have girlfriends, but my parents never cared if my girlfriends were going to become wives, because they never expected it from me, right? I wasn't the doctor, I was the salesman. It's crazy, I mean, and, there were some girls I never really thought about it, because I had my brother. My brother meets a girl, they try to have kids, and it doesn't work. Matter of fact, she gets pregnant, his wife, and then the fetus, it doesn't, whatever it is, I don't know. I don't really know exactly the medical situation, but it didn't happen. And they were using fertility treatments, didn't work. My mother makes the deal, just like she did to me with business. She tells him, if you'll try more, to give me a grandchild. That's what she said, to give me, not about my brother, to get his child or their wife to start a family. Says, I'll pay you half. Not I'll pay you half so you can start your family. I'll pay you half if you give me a grandchild. So he goes for more fertility treatments. 2 more times he sees a baby, a fetus kind of forming, and he gets excited, and it doesn't happen. And he's devastated. He's so low. I mean, he was going through the most, trying times, not just psychologically, but physically, because he had to wake up at certain times and do all this. I mean, it wasn't easy on him. And psychologically really wasn't easy, because he'd already been through so many hits when it came to serious events. We've all had them, I suppose, but when you don't have support from your parents, and especially your mother, he didn't know who to turn to, and it was weighing on him. And stand-up comedy is it's trying, it's stressful. Anyhow, he calls my mother. This is 2011. I can tell you the date. It was 2011, November 9th. Nope, November 4th, November 6th. I'm sorry. November 14th, 2011. He calls my mother and he tells her, it's not happening. We're going for adoption. We're excited about that. There's lots of kids who need parents, and we're still young enough that we can get it. We're professional enough. And he asked for half the money that she said she was going to give him for fertility treatments, and she does the old takeaway, just like she did to me. I didn't say that, or maybe she said I only said it if it worked. I'm not sure what she told him. She probably did it like me. I don't remember saying that. I told you I'd leave it in my will or something, like, you know what I mean? It's just some kind of takeaway game like she did to me to get me to lose my job, that I'm in this apartment. That I'm in this hotel now, this nightly hotel tonight, and hopefully not for long. So he calls me devastated. That was the worst I ever heard him. He's saying she's a bitch. Every goddamn word that I've called her for years, he's calling her. And I'm trying to calm him down. He's going, no, you don't understand. She's the lowest low. He's angry. I mean, he's always been angry, but he is livid. But he's also heavy and depressed. And I should add in, he was complaining about his chest pains for about the previous 2 weeks. I guess when he realized it wasn't going to happen, he was complaining to me. And I told my father to ask his brother-in-law, who's a heart surgeon, to call my brother and see what's going on. My dad never did it. He told my mother something, oh, he'll be fine, he's young, whatever. And then I found out my father had a friend who died next to him in his 40s of a heart attack. He never asked. He just figured that's a psychopath, right? You can't, oh yeah, whatever, he'll be fine, don't worry, everyone's it's cool, right? It's cool, my dad. So what happens, unless it's him, of course, what happens? 2 days later, my brother's having pains, he's throwing up, whatever. His wife is asleep, he's up all night on eBay doing his comic collecting, and he's writing notes. He had a bit of narcissism. He doesn't want to accept that this could be serious. He's writing notes. I'm going to figure this out. I'm sure I'll know what's going on. Anyways, look, before I reach 20 minutes, by the morning, his wife wakes up. They're trying to get out to go to see the doctor. He feels sick again. He goes to the washroom. He dies, my brother. heart attack, sudden, 44.